Good evening, everyone. My name is Travis Henderson. Today I'll be presenting for our Week 4 presentation, our content presentation for Psych 651 with Liberty University. I really appreciate your time that you've taken to attend this. So without further ado, I'll get right into it. So this week we reviewed chapters 4 through 7 of Aquinas, the performance management text. The 5 areas that I'll be focusing on today are choosing performance measurement approach, measuring results and behaviors, gathering performance information, training programs, and skill acquisition, implementation of performance management system. So all of these things play an important role in the successful implementation of a performance management system. So in the following slides, we'll talk about each one of these more in detail. So the first category we're going to be talking about is choosing a performance measurement approach. So in doing this, we must first consider that performance is behavior-based. So it's focused on the behaviors, not necessarily the results. It's also evaluative, in that behaviors can be rated either negative, neutral, or positive. And it's multidimensional in that there are a multitude of behaviors which can be measured. So there are 3 main approaches: the behavior approach, the results approach, and the trait approach to measuring performance. So measuring the results and behaviors, so in measuring results, we must clearly define our objectives. We must have determined key accountabilities, and there must be clear performance standards. In measuring behaviors, we're basically evaluating competencies, so knowledge, skills, and abilities. Competencies are measured by their indicators. So a competency may be something that's difficult to measure directly, so we measure them based on their indicators or things that can infer or be correlated with a core competency. For example, if somebody wants to measure a core competency of time management or effective time management, one may measure the frequency of tardiness to meetings or meeting deadlines. So there could be many indicators to each competency. So comparative systems rates employees based on comparison. They compare one employee to another. And when supervisors rate without the consideration of others, meaning that one employee isn't being compared to another, that rater is using an absolute system. So the next section we'll be talking about is gathering performance info. So this can be done by using appraisal forms, which appraisal forms can provide basic employee info, accountabilities, objectives and standards, competencies, stakeholder input, etc. And then the appraisal forms can be completed by like supervisors, peers, subordinates, customers, or even oneself. So many different people can play into the information gathering. Forms should be simple, relevant, descriptive, adaptive, comprehensive, have clear definition, communicative, and have time orientation. So employees can also go through appraisal periods, which vary in length. They should occur at regular intervals, though. So a lot of people have performance reviews at the end of each year. They typically should occur more frequently than that, but that's just one example. So there are 6 appraisal meetings that should happen with an employee and a supervisor through a performance measurement system. So system inauguration, self-appraisal, classical performance review, merit or salary review, creating a developmental plan, and an objective setting meeting. So all of these things play into helping gather the appropriate information for measuring performance. One thing we should note, though, is these 6 meetings can also, or they don't necessarily need to occur at different times. They can sometimes, depending on the effectiveness of the rater or the supervisor, some of them can be combined into one meeting. So throughout the performance management and measurement systems, there needs to be appropriate training for the raters. So these supervisors and the raters can go through like rater error training, which can help identify biases or motivations for raters to inflate or provide negative results for employees. There's also like frame of reference training, which consists of 6 stages, followed by feedback on discrepancies with rating. There's also behavioral observation training, which helps to observe, store, and recall and use information about performance. And then there's also self-leadership training, which aims to enhance rater confidence through self-direction and self-motivation. So all of these things can help raters be more effective in performance measurement. So we've kind of talked about the different facets of performance measurement, which all play a key role in implementing or the implementation of the system. So implementing the system can happen in person or online. The book talks about a lot of the benefits of doing it online. I think it's an effective way. It seems to be a way to log data with a lot less man hours. So in the implementation of the system, you must also have completed rater trainings, run a pilot test, which is more or less the test run of the system without recording much of the results, just so you can see flaws or test the effectiveness. Raters and supervisors must also create a communication plan and implement an appeals process for the rating system. The appeals process has been shown to increase buy-in by inflating the perception of fairness within the system. So people perceive more fairness when there's an appeals process, which is very important to note. So in the implementation of a performance measurement system, communication barriers can arise. This can be due to selective exposure with employees, selective perception, and selective retention biases by raters or supervisors. In order to combat these barriers, raters and employees can strive to involve employees, try to understand their needs. They should also strike first, which is providing positive attitudes about performance management and measurement before negative ones are created by group members. Providing facts and consequences, putting standards in writing, using multiple channels of communication, using credible communicators, and repeating information multiple times for better retention. So all of these things help to increase buy-in, help employees understand and accept the performance measurement system in a more positive way. So in wrapping everything up, the content we discussed today was centered around measuring performance. We discussed choosing performance measurement approaches, measuring results and behaviors, gathering performance information, training programs and skill acquisition, and the implementation of performance management system. Understanding these areas and navigating them skillfully will help improve any implementation in any lacking system of measurement. So the questions I proposed this week are: 1, Chapter 4 discusses different approaches to measuring performance, referring to the behavioral approach, results approach, and the trait approach. Within a Christian worldview, what approach would be the best measure of performance in your opinion? And then chapter 6 asks, who should provide performance information? Out of the possible sources listed, supervisors, peers, subordinates, self, or even customers, who do you feel would provide the best performance information for someone in your position? Why? Again, I really want to thank everybody for their time they've spent reviewing my presentation. I wish you guys all the best of luck in your future endeavors and the rest of the course.